Good morning everybody, and welcome to another episode of Curly's Ag and Country Living. So today we want to talk about our solar power. We get questions regularly from people that come and visit, from viewers, about our solar system. It's something that I feel that's very not well covered in the industry, even within the electrician industry. There's not many electricians that know about solar power. So today we want to go for a quick review over that so you guys can learn how to set up your own solar system. Let's get into it. Alright, so we're going to talk about the solar system, as I said, but first things first, I just want to give you a quick update over the farm. We planted the wheat 2 weeks ago. I know the video only came up last week, but I typically like to record a week in advance if I can. This week, however, because we've just had the release of our new Cyber Clydesdale, we've been working flat out. Well, not the release of it, we finally started shipping it. So the last week and a half, 2 weeks nearly, I've been working even Sundays just to get that all moving to try and fulfill orders. And we're a bit behind, so it is today, Sunday the 31st, I think it's the 31st of July. And I'm recording the episode for tonight. You gotta do what you gotta do, but the wheat's here. I'll show you guys. You can see it's all come up now. I'm really happy with that. It seems to be a really good plant. A good strike rate. It doesn't look as thick in other parts, but I think that's simply because there's a lot more, what do you call it, residue on top, whereas here where there's not as much residue, that you can see the leaves poking through. But the whole field, right across to this side here, you can see it's died off fairly well from all that crimping rolling. And also we've had a couple of frost, which has killed off a lot of stuff as well, but you can see over here, we've got a really nice strike rate. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. It has been warming up lately. I mean, it's only July. I don't expect the cold to be gone yet for quite some time, but no doubt it's going to slow down, and you can see that in our crops, in our yields here. A quick little look at the farm. We got everything sort of seemed to be jumping out of the ground now. It's also a big thing for us is the rains killed off a bit, so we haven't had that constant flooding. Here we've got our new crop successions coming on. We just paper potted them. Our salad mixes on this side. They're all pumping. Garlic's really well stuck in now. I checked a couple of bulbs yesterday. We've got stuff ready to harvest here. Our cabbage and salad mix on this side. Our rapini. The bees are buzzing on the rapini. Look at this. It's good actually, the rapini, and I'm not a really big fan of it personally, but it just keeps the bees fed in winter when there's nothing else around, so yeah, whatever. And then yeah, we got plenty of more crop succession coming on here, and broccoli just starting to be ready to harvest on this side. You can see them in there coming through. Yeah, you might notice that this broccoli is really close together. So I haven't seen any other farms doing it like we do it, but we love our paper pots. I mean, we do make the machines and sell them and stuff, but I find it's really good in winter. You get that jump on things, and we just plant the broccoli on 150 spacing, so it's not that far apart. But as you can see, they seem to work it out themselves. In like one broccoli will sort of make room for the other, and we'll harvest. Oh, let me just see. They sort of make room for each other, and so there's one broccoli there, and there's one under him here. But what we'll do is we'll harvest this one, and then he'll grow through, and it doesn't seem to affect the head size. So, I mean, if it doesn't affect the head size, what's wrong with it? Instead of putting, maybe 3 rows on a bed, we just do the 2 rows, and yeah, really happy with that. But anyway, without any further ado, let's jump into the solar stuff, and I'll teach you guys how it all works. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we've got our theory part first, as in all good lecture. First things first, I just want to talk on the basics of electricity and how it works, I suppose. Well, not so much how it works, but electricity is measured in two things, volts and amps. So we'll just write them over here. There's V for volts and A for amps. Volts is the speed. So 2 volts is really slow, 2000 volts is really fast. And amps is the quantity, or if we were talking about water, it'd be like the litres per minute. So we'll just say quantity. Alright, so when you multiply the speed and the quantity together, that'll give you how much is flowing. So the same with water. If I say that there's 10 litres per minute, but I don't tell you how long it's flowing for, you won't know how much water's flowed through, so you won't be able to measure it. So and in that way we get together. So what you'd have then, if you multiply the volts by the amps, that's like multiplying the speed by the time, you would get a measurement which equals volt amps, or more commonly seen would be kilovolt amps, which is what you may have seen somewhere on generators or whatever it is, be kilovolt amps. But if you've ever noticed, you never talk about kVA or kilovolt amps when it comes to battery storage, when it comes to solar panel capacity, any of that sort of stuff. It's never mentioned, and the reason is because it's not necessarily a true power. It's a theory of power. To get a true power, you have to multiply volt amps or kVA by its power factor. I don't know what the short for power factor is, but we're just going to put PF, and that equals then watts. I'll just write watts here. Now, this is really important when it's in AC and not really important when it's in DC. If you don't want to see, I'm going to give you a quick description in AC. If you're not interested, just skip over this little bit. But the reason is, what power factor is this is your graph, and you've got positive up here and negative down here. And let's just say your voltage is like that. So black is V, and that's voltage, and then red is amps. So we'll write amps up here. And let's just say your amps start up here, and like that. The issue is your maximum voltage is maximum at a different time as your maximum amps. So what happens is your actual output, which is in watts, isn't actually just directly the volts times the amps, it's times by the power factor. So let's say this here is out and that out. So the actual peak power is right here at this point, and that's the power factor you multiply it by. Now this is only valid for AC voltage, because if it's, so I'll write AC on there, if it's DC, and you've got your power coming in here, just so that's positive, that's 1 volt, and this is negative, it's going to stay constant. So your volts and amps will always be the same, whether they're like that the same, whatever they are the same, whatever it is, it's what it's always going to be, and that'll just stay constant. So you just multiply your volts by amps. So this is why we measure everything in watts or kilowatts, kW, which is kilowatts. So now we got that clear, we're going to start, let's open a new page here, and we're going to actually talk about our solar system specifically. New whiteboard, come on. So our solar system needs, the first thing, it needs a solar panel. Solar panels are written PV for photovoltaic, and in our case we are going to run several solar panels. We're going to run 3 for argument's sake. Now at the time of this recording in 2022, August in 2022, a typical solar panel will be running about 360 watts. Now 360 watts, they typically put out about 36 volts. So to work out the amperage, we can divide 360 by 36, and that would give us 10 amps. Yeah, 10 amps. So that would give us 10 amps. And then so 10 by 36 is 360 watts. Really simple maths there. Now I'm going to come back to that in a second. So there your photovoltaic. Then from that, we need to go to a charge controller. So we're going to go CC for charge controller. Now, between our charge controller and our photovoltaic, it's always recommendable to put a switch. So we've got our little switch there. This here is the symbol for a switch, electrically speaking. And then from our charge controller, we need to go down to our battery. We'll just do the old classic lead acid battery looking thing. Obviously, I definitely do not recommend lead acid. I'd only recommend a lithium battery. So I just go LIT, lithium for lithium battery. It's probably not worth putting on there. I'll just take that off. Okay. And then from your battery, you will run into your inverter. So INV, and that's for inverter. And then from your inverter, it'll run down to your house, which we'll put down here. Now, a key secret about this, and I'm just going to draw this on here from here. We'll go red. From this point here to this, well, it's half of this point here. This is all 48 volts. So I'm sorry. So we're just assuming that we're running a 48 volt system because that's what I run. And then from here down this direction, we are running a 240 volt because this is Australia. And in this direction over here, from here back this way, it will all be what are the panel voltages. Now, interesting thing about panel, if you are setting your own up from scratch, a typical solar panel system will run typically from 200. Oh, you can't see that. We're back to black. 200 to 600 volts, even higher. And the reason is because if we put these together in parallel and keep 36 volts, two things: the voltage gets lost over distance. So if you run a long way, you'll drop and you'll lose a lot of voltage. But secondly, you need a lot bigger river to carry a lot more water. So in our previous screen, I showed you that amps is the size. So instead of having to run massive cables, we run a little cable and we just increase the voltage. So they just put these in series. So you just put them like this to each other, that one to that one. And if these ones here are 36 volts, let's just say they're 30 volts each, together from here to here, such as this plus this plus this. And then so what it'll do is we'll have 36 times by 3 is 90, 108, is that right? 108, 108? I don't know if it's not right, I apologise, whatever it is, volts, but theoretically whatever it is, and that'll be the voltage from here to here. So this here drops the voltage from 108 to 48, which isn't actually true. It'll be probably sitting at 54 volts for a lithium system, but we just say it's 48 for argument's sake. And then from here, everything between here and here, and you'll see on our system, this is actually runs, we actually run from the charge controller directly to the inverter, from the inverter to the battery. But it doesn't matter because this is all 48 volts and it's all interconnected, so it doesn't matter where you put that. But anyway, these are the main components you will need for setting up your solar system. This is a basic understanding you need to be able to interpret what you need to do. So let's jump back into the farm shed and see what we got in there. Alright, now we've checked out the theory, let's have a look at what we got here. So, as we spoke about, our solar panels are up on top, and you see we've brought the power through the top of the roof there, and it's come down here. Now, our power, we always run it through an isolator switch, so it comes into the top of this box here, and we've got our 2 isolator switches mounted on the inside. Now this system is not finished, but one thing that's really important with all electrical work, and I think the main difference between a professional job and a homemade job is tidiness. So everything equally spaced or whatever it is, you know, in some sort of a neatness array, and then all the cables need to be put through conduit or through track or whatever it is. Now that is a job that we have pendant to do. We just haven't had time yet, but we will get that done eventually. So what we've done is instead of having isolators mounted out here on the surface of the board, we've brought an extra big one of these boxes and we mounted our isolators here. So these are our array isolators. We basically split the unit into 2 units because we've got 2 charge controllers. So we've got 10 kilowatts of solar on the roof, and we are running basically 5 kilowatts through each charge controller. Now these are Victrons, and I have gone all Victron. If you've ever seen, or if you've got any of our products that use the solar and stuff from the Clydesdale or Handy, they run Victron charge controllers, the little brothers of these ones here. The reason why I've gone with Victron is because they've got a good reputation. They've been around for years and years, like they're almost the longest in the industry, and bang for buck, you can't beat them. The only company that's probably better than Victron is Selectronic, SP, but they are literally double the price. So for comparison, our inverter here, it's a 15 kilowatt inverter. So the 15 kilowatt inverter, it cost me $7,500 2 years ago. I no doubt the price has gone up. In a Selectronic, they make a 10 kilowatt inverter, a 7 kilowatt inverter, and that was $15,000. Massive difference. So we've gone with Victron. So back to what we're doing here. This is our charge controllers. Now these here are their old charge controllers. They have brought out new charge controllers since. Now these charge controllers were $1,500 each. This is going to be specific to whatever country you're in and whatever you need to do as to what prices are, but that's just a bit of a comparison, I suppose you could say. So there's 2 of them, so they're 5 kilowatt each, as I was saying before. Now instead of having a bus bar, so from here it goes up to here, so we can isolate the power if we need to, we just run down here and onto the insides of our inverter here. It's got a dual pole bus bar. Let me just open that up for you, 1 second. Alright, so inside of here, these are our poles. So this here is your battery positive and negative. Now we're only running 48 volts here, so you can touch them and there's nothing going to happen to you. Unless you lick your tongue or something, it's not dangerous. Now I will just quickly mention, really important, that in Australia, so because we have viewers from all over the world, in Australia it's illegal to deal with high voltage circuits unless you're a licensed electrician. Caveat, in other places of the world you can do what you want. So I do show everything here so that if this wasn't applicable to you, you know, you can still learn and still do it. Whatever. Okay. So yeah, so that's 48 volt there. So we run our 48 volt system because that's the batteries we found. When you get above 48 volt, your voltage gets a bit high and you sort of get it gets a bit more dangerous, I suppose. But 48 volts are fairly efficient. So we've got our 2 batteries here, positive and negative. And then we've got our charge controllers, positive and negative, these little black wires. And then we've got our batteries here feeding from these black and red wires. And they go out here. And so we've got to set up, so this here is our big battery. It's 20 amp hours of 48 volts, which is massive. It's about 20 kilowatt hours is 400 amp hours. So it's 20 kilowatt, just a tad over 20 kilowatt hours, and that's only got a maximum discharge capacity of 150 amps. Whereas these ones here, these are the batteries that we use on the Clydesdales. You can see they're all pretty well full. And the Clydesdales over here, you see the battery's been taken out of him, so we just chuck it on here to charge. And so these here are the batteries using that, so we can just slide them in and out the rack to use them in the farm whenever we need to, or to leave them here to charge out. Now, because these have such a high power demand, the Clydesdale, sorry, has such a high power demand, or the Handy has a high power demand, which, you know, it can run up to 6 kilowatts at a time. These here have got, they're only 2.8 kilowatt hours, so they're way smaller than this. I mean, physically they're way smaller too, but their discharge capacity is the same as this. So let's say we start the bore pump up. It's a 3 kilowatt bore pump. You know, it'll take half of what they can produce, and then so I've got the welder pumping and welding something up. You know, it can draw, you know, up to 8 kilowatt hours. So, 8 kilowatts. Sorry, and so this one here wouldn't be able to produce the power, whereas these ones here can. So with this here, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, and so it's 5 at 150 kilowatt hours. 5 by 150 is 750 amp discharge capacity, so 750 multiplied by 48. So that's 36 kilowatts of power we can output here. And that's a 15 kilowatt inverter. So basically, it's never ever going to draw more than this can put out, like not even close. So the cables will never get hot, and that's fine. Now, that's the batteries. So that's our system. Obviously, there's a solar panel on the roof, and yeah, we'll jump up there and have a look at them now, eh? Alright, so I forgot my sunglasses and it's really bright up here. Yeah, with this surf mist roof. Yeah, it's bright. So these are our solar panels here. We've got 10 kilowatts of solar panels on the roof here. What brand are they? I don't know, and I don't really care. There's a million brands out there and everyone's going to be flogging their donkey. They're all pretty similar. 99.99% of them come out of China. The ones that we use on our Handy and Clydesdale, they're a really expensive brand one, and we have to have that because of the high voltage. Whereas, you know, just for comparison, one of them Handy solar panels, I think cost us like $600. Whereas these ones here, and they're a 400 amp hour solar panel. These ones here are 360 watt, not amp hour. They're watts. They're measured in watts. As we did in the maths thing before, you know, with your watts and your amps and your volts. So these here are 360 watt, so they're like 40 watts less than the Handy ones, but they cost, all these, so the 10 kilowatt hours, cost us like $2,500–3,000, so heaps cheaper. You know, then they talk about tier 1, tier 2, tier whatever panels. Yeah, okay, the ones for the Handy and stuff are better, but if it wasn't for that minimum voltage requirement to run one solar panel with one charge controller, I would have just put one of these on them, because at the end of the day, they're all going to last 10 years. In 10 years time, you chuck one of these away that cost you, you know, $300, whatever it is, and you buy another one, who cares? By then, you know, instead of running 360 watt panels, you'll be running, you know, 3 kilowatt panels, you know, so it won't be relevant. And I mean, okay, you chuck it away in 10 years time, but you're going to chuck away any of them in 10 years time. It's just going to matter on what's there, and yeah, like I said, in 3 years or 10 years time, maybe even 5 years time, be running like 1 and 2 kilowatt panels, and it'll be, you know, 360 watts. You'll be like, oh, that's a joke. So yeah, there's no magic to them. They've got these little rails. You'll be able to buy them off your solar installer. You can really install them however you want. We didn't have the little clips for these solar panels, so we just installed them with a couple of screws. Let me see if I can show you here. Yeah, you can see the screws there, just grab on each side. And we've been through a heap of really big windstorms, and they're not going anywhere. We have intentions to keep expanding that over here, and we'll probably put 20 or 30 kilowatts of panels up on this roof. Just on cloudy days, like today is just starting to cloud over a little bit. If you have to do a heap of irrigating, you know, or if we've got the commercial kitchen working eventually or whatever, we'll be drawing power. So solar panels are really cheap. And yeah, only thing I'd probably say is if you have got the option, get them installed professionally, the solar panels, because the government, at least in Australia currently, as we speak, gives you really good rebates, talking 50% rebates. I have heard that in America there is no rebates, so that's not applicable to you. But yeah, with that sort of rebate, you know, you get the job done, including material and finish, the same as what you could buy them solar panels for. You know, 10 kilowatt system, you're only looking at $5,000 installed, and you know, the solar panels are $3,000. So it's not worth it. Anyway, we're gonna jump back down off this roof because she's bright up here, and I want to talk about what you need. Depends what you're gonna be doing. So if you're homesteading, or off-gridding, or whatever you want to call it, that's one thing. If you're farming, that's another thing. Whenever you're looking to get into any sort of commercial operation, be it a farm or whatever it is, your power consumption is going to go up simply because you're doing more stuff. So, for example, you're going to pretty well need to calculate what you need to have to run your system. So we are, I suppose you could say, we are homesteading, but we do have a commercial operation. Like our farm out here is, it's about, was 50 meters by about 100 meters, so it's about 5,000 square meters of farm. Yeah, that's right, 5,000. Yeah. So we got a lot of irrigating to do, right? So we've got a bore pump in the creek, and that's a 3,000 watt pump. Now 3,000 watt. And on a day when there's full sun pump and there's 10 kilowatts coming in, that's not a problem. You don't even notice it. The only issue is, you know, when we have got such a large battery bank, and at night time, the guys want to run their cooktop or whatever in the house, or whatever's going on in the house. If them batteries don't get full, and I have seen that happen on this place regularly during the daytime because they're running pumps all day, like when I say all day, I mean like all day. You got to keep in account that your power consumption, the curve, so it'll go up in the morning till max, and you'll get maximum sunlight from, like, in Queensland, you know, let's say from 10 till 2. So you've only got 4 hours of 10 kilowatts going in. Either side of that, it almost exponentially drops off. So realistically, although there's 10 kilowatt hours, you know, an average output in 10 kilowatts of solar on the roof, an average output of power will be, in this property here, will be, you know, 60 kilowatt hours for the day. Now, if we've got about 35 kilowatt hours of solar panel of batteries there, that means of the whole day's sun on a sunny day, it's going to take half that day to just charge the batteries, which they're going to consume over the course of the night. Whereas the immediate demands, so if you're running that pump, and I know we've got five half an hour timers, so that's going to be 2.5 hours of running that pump at 3 kilowatts. Let's just say 3 hours at 3 kilowatts. That's 9 kilowatt hours that pump alone is going to use. Then we run on fridges and stuff like that. So you need to calculate, am I running a fridge? Okay, an average fridge, you know, you're going to use over a night probably 3 to 4 kilowatt hours of power. So that's going to be like 2 of them black batteries that we have in the shed here. If you're running a commercial fridge, it's going to be bigger. If you look on the back of your appliances, typically there'll be a little tag on the power consumption, and you can multiply that by the hours you're running it. And then you'll know how much a day. So I said 2 to 3 kilowatt hours per night, but that fridge also runs the day. So it's going to be a power consumption, let's say 8 to 10 kilowatt hours a day. That needs to be factored in your solar panel output. So we've got a pump now that chooses about 9. You know, we've got, let's just say for argument's sake, 5 kilowatts for the fridge. We're already looking at 14 kilowatts of power. Now that still you have to have you got hot water? How much is that going to use? You're going to run off peak obviously, or hot water, or an instant hot water. What system are you going to use? And how much is that going to chew? So you basically need to do the maths, and I would calculate both how much you're going to use every day on a total idea, and then how much you're going to use every night to know your batteries. Now in a solar system, your batteries are going to be over 50% of your cost of your whole solar system. They are by far the most expensive part of it, and you're going to have to determine whether or how much money you have to spend to get that to work. on this farm here, for example, so the hot water, we have electric, and we run off-peak hot water. So basically at daytime it heats up, and then nighttime it goes there. We've got a fireplace in the house here, so that fireplace is what keeps the house warm at night. So realistically, they're only running the water pump for the house, which is like a 1 horsepower, so that's 0.76 kilowatts. And then you know, so this battery system well and truly easily run them into the night, and the next morning not a problem. Like even this morning, you see here, these batteries are at 98%. So they've got stacks of battery left here tonight. So it's not been an issue for them. But on a night where they might want to do, you know, cooking in the oven or something like that, it might not be a thing. So it's always a trade-off of cost-benefit analysis. What I would recommend when it comes to setting up your solar system, solar panels are cheaper than batteries. So if you have a lot of batteries, you got sunny days and not so sunny days. Today looks like it's going to be a bit of a cloudy day. I can already see that yeah, she's clouding up. I think there's a low front coming across the horizon, so that means we'll have a couple of cloudy days. So these batteries will probably last them for a full day of cloud. So a 24-hour period, what we've got here. Whereas if we had, instead of 10 kilowatts on the roof, we had 30 kilowatts, let's say it cost us $9,000, whereas just this one battery here cost about $9,000. So, you know, and on a cloudy day when you're only getting a third of the output, you're still getting 10 kilowatt output, and that would still charge your batteries up. And the only thing you need for that is more charge controllers. So, you know, they're $1,500 each, so you have to add that on as well. So yeah, I hope I haven't confused you guys too much. I hope I've done it justice, but it's not. I suppose it's, you know, it's a 15-20 minute YouTube video. Just want to run through the basics, you know, so you can calculate the more or less of what you need to do with your farm to work out what you need. And yeah, I hope that was good. So let us know in the comments section if there's anything else you'd like us to cover. If you want more detail, or we can do a second video specifically specifying the different bits and pieces. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and all the best.